So welcome to discuss about the future software testing. As with the previous session, you can put some questions on the chat. I might pick up something in immediately. Otherwise, we'll have a discussion in the end, like you just had in the previous session. Great. So let's go forward. Here we go. So just a brief background. So my name is Kari Kakkonen. So I come from Finland. I've been involved in software testing for more than 20 years. I've been doing many things. Just to pick up a few items there. I've been very active starting a Finnish testing community. There are many different associations here, but the Finnish board is one of those. And then I got involved into the ISTQB and got very interested, and now I am a secretary of the whole ISTQB. Obviously, at the same time, I've been working with testing in a few companies currently at Knowit, which is a very nice big company in Nordic countries. And then my favorite thing is at the moment the book I'm writing for children. So my background is from Norway, to over 2,400 people in 5 countries in Nordic area. So I live in Helsinki, which is the black dot on the right. That's me. That's our Finnish office. As for ISTQB, my headquarters in a way is Brussels, but I'm not there ever. I'm just connecting remotely. This is the modern life. So that's my ISTQB background, and then my own company, my book background is the book which is going to be published this year about testing and for children. So it's about fantasy. The idea is to start educating people early. You know, we educate coders, developers early in schools these days, and we do need to do it for testing as well. So this is the point here. But that's my background. Let's go to the actual agenda. So I decided to take a few angles on the future of software testing. These are, I think, the biggest trends that are out there influencing next years in testing. So it is testing carriers, Agile, and test automation, DevOps, and artificial intelligence. So let's take a look at each of these and see what you think. First of all, testing carriers. This is an increasing area every year, all the time, meaning that the individuals who test, they need to be better at testing, learn more testing things all the time. With human being's potential, you get most out of the testing as well. Yeah, it's very true that companies say that the biggest asset they have are the employees. So when it comes to testers really must develop themselves in the testing carriers. ISTQB obviously is a big part of that. So the big idea is there to create and maintain, grow the ecosystem of member boards, the ISTQB centrally, and then training providers and exam providers, which when together can help individual testers to grow in their career path. So this is the big idea. And if we look at how this trend keeps on growing, how ISTQB, in other words, keeps on getting more and more exams taken and getting more and more certificates given. We are going to hit 1 million exams probably later this year. So this is all very nice. We have testing education, testing certificates present in pretty much all the countries in the world. This is, I think, a very good sign for the future of software testing. It's not going to be forgotten. There are people talking about the testing to local communities, to local companies to universities, basically taking the message of testing forward all the time. And yeah, it's never stopping. So there's more things coming up. So just a quick sneak peek. There are more ISTQB certificates coming up quite soon. Well, soon is a relative concept. Let's say next year in Agile, around Agile, and around artificial intelligence as well. So obviously, testing carriers have a big tie-in into the trends that happen in software development and testing otherwise. At the moment, one of the trends, let's hope it's only a trend for this year and it won't be future of the world and future of testing for that matter, is the COVID-19 epidemic, pandemic really. That is a really bad thing, very obviously, and it does make learning testing more difficult. So it's really great that we have a growing number of webinars like this one, also trainings happening online, and also certificates being taken, exams leading into certificates being taken in online, which is something that ISTQB made possible to enable this in these hard circumstances, also taking ISTQB exams. This could be also there could be something good out of coming of all this epidemic, which is the fact that some people are now have maybe access to testing carriers that didn't have it, testing knowledge, testing certificates that didn't have it earlier. So people who learn online, who maybe live in places where there's no local training or exams available. I think now we have maybe another tool to get the testing knowledge further in the world. So let's see what happens with this trend. Anyway, my main point in the testing careers is that in ISTQB there has been lots of discussion about what are the right ways to educate people. The current product portfolio around the testing content, which is the syllabi and the equivalent exams and certificates, it is grouped like this. So there is the core testing knowledge, there's the agile knowledge, and a number of specialist topics. But then, of course, if you think about it from a career path point of view, that's maybe something a little bit different. And I think this is something that is all the time growing now. So people are not satisfied anymore in learning a few things and then trying to manage their testing with that limited knowledge, let's say. But there are career paths. You can advance into other roles, and this is something that will happen more and more in future. So people are not only testers. They can spend their whole lives in testing, becoming more advanced, specializing in particular areas, being really good experts on some portion of testing, and so on. The typical three big career paths that are supported by ISTQB are test manager, tester, and technical tester. The terminology in the ISTQB syllabi is slightly different, but let's do this mapping and let's see how it works. So with test manager, career path is maybe the typical original career path. So you would become a tester first from the bottom there in the picture. You would maybe go to advanced levels, learn more topics on courses or books, take an exam, and then you might even go to expert level. There's expert test management and also the improving testing process, syllabi and equivalent exams. So that is quite typical of career path, and obviously with the Agile world, learning basics, foundation level knowledge of Agile tester is also very, very important. So this could be one career path choice for a test manager, taken over 5-10 years, something like that. Another thing is then the tester. So somebody who wants to learn new things, wants to specialize in different things, but doesn't really want to become a manager. Not everybody is a manager. That's in any industry. That's not true. That's not the only truth. You should be able to do a good career in any area without going to manage people. And so this is what it looks like for a tester. So you would again start from a basic testing knowledge, then build your understanding on an advanced level. Again, you could take a look at the Agile if that's this sort of industry you're in, or that sort of life cycle models you are in. And then what we see in ISTQB a lot is that you can specialize in either different domains, so automotive, gambling, and so on. There are a number of those products there in ISTQB portfolio, and there are also more in the ISTQB ecosystem nearby. And then there are different types of specializations, all testing types, different ways of testing. So as an example, I picked usability testing and acceptance testing there. So this could be a personal career path of somebody who is happy to be a, let's say, a manual tester and just wants to be very good at it and grow and move on. And then there's the third one, which is the technical tester. And this one is really, I think, the most common one these days. This will be the future tester, I think, or maybe it will be a sort of merge of these three big career paths that I describe here. But yeah, I think technicality is increasing in testers. So what that means from this career path point of view is that you could take your basic knowledge again, then move on to advanced technical test analyst in the middle. You could take the Agile path as well. There's the Agile technical tester on top of the previous slide. And then you could also take some specialization in the same way as the non-technical testers. And so here, for this particular example, I chose there the gambling industry, and then security and the test automation syllabi. So this is an example, and I think that career paths in essence are always individual, they are unique. So every tester can build their own career path from elements that are out there, and it's not, of course, not only testing, but it's related understanding that happens in software development around the testing. So testing is a part of everything, and I think this is also one of the big trends for the future. Testing will be less and less independent. It will be part of different kinds of teams, Agile teams, DevOps teams, closer to business, so requirements, business analyst. It will have more and more technology available, so AI, for example, there. And also when there's the improvement perspective, so TMMI, there's an example. So testers do need lots of different skills. They are not only testing skills, and it also goes the other way around. I think this is a big trend as well. So not only testers will learn testing things. I think we will have a future of really many developers also learning testing, as well as business people learning testing. And this comes quite naturally with the Agile and DevOps, which we'll speak about in the next slides. So let's go into Agile then. So Agile does influence testing a lot, has been doing that for more than 10 years. And why I say 10 years is, well, roughly 10 years, is because it was, I think, 2007 when the Agile testing book came out from Lisa Crispin and Janet Gregory. And I think that was a turning point, and testing started to be a really big part of Agile development. It was always part of that, of course, but in a more distinct way, being outspoken, being there very, very clearly. It still is a trend. It still is increasing. It still is changing a world, and it will do it a lot more. It's a transformation for software development that is not nearly finished. Many or some in some countries, even most companies claim to be agile. Some are less agile, some are more agile, and testing there. Sometimes it's well positioned. Sometimes it's still looking at its place. So finding the correct, useful role in agile project or agile team is something that needs to happen for really many companies, really many projects, and with testing in that context. So one of the big things that I think will out of agile that I think will influence the near future is this typical concept of whole team approach of testing, which really means that it's not the tester as an individual who is responsible of testing. It is the team together that is responsible of good quality, of good testing, and is able to learn about testing, do the testing, find defects, fix them together. Of course, very often it's somebody who has the testing skills, who is maybe teaching, maybe coaching the rest of the team about the software testing matters, and that would be the role of a current tester or testers. So people with testing background, that's how I like to say it. So it is also going to influence a lot what's happening in next few years. Another aspect that's coming from Agile is the different terminology. So especially when you compare to traditional plan-driven ways of working, and you saw this picture in the previous presentation for a while, but I think it's also a good proof of explaining that different words are used for things that are roughly similar in a different context. So Agile methodologies, Scrum, Kanban, and so on, SAFe, they continue transforming and changing some of the words that are used for different types of testing, and it's good that also new concepts are coming up. It's good when new understanding is coming up, because then it fits well and fits better into different project environments that are using Agile. So this is again something that will continue happening. More and more Agile, more and more testing terms that are better fit to those Agile projects, and then a good coverage of testing using these different types of products there. So that's something that's going to happen as well. And the third thing I picked up here as Agile related testing trend is the acceptance test-driven development, ATDD, or as you see on the right side of the slide, also something similar is BDD, behavior-driven development, and SBE, which is the specification by example. Very related terms, but why I think this is a big thing, this is a transformation as well. It's because there's more communication happening with this particular Agile testing concept. So it's not only that testers do testing, or in a whole team approach anybody does testing, also developers or business people does testing. It's not only that, but it's a fact that testing can happen really early with these concepts. So it's not going to be late anymore, which is the unfortunate fact for testing in many circumstances. It's going to be on time, because with the ATDD approach, when you talk about the requirements or user stories, what you're going to implement, you are also going to talk about testing through examples, through tests, through behaviors. So it's a discussion, it's a specification workshop. This is very early approach for testing. This is something that really makes testers happy in moving into Agile, because now they have a natural platform of suddenly talking about testing very early in the project. These are the first days of the whole project when you are just thinking about the requirements before any of the development, before any of the code, and you are thinking test first. So this I believe is a big influence, and I hope that the different agile teams will pick up this particular aspect a lot. It's not, of course, as in any agile thing, not anybody is fully agile, so different agile teams pick up different practices. So not everybody picks up this one, but I do believe this has lots of potential and it should be taken up. So that's a good one. And so what all that means is that the tester's role is changing. It will change more. So testers are put more and more into the teams. They are not outside of the development team, they are in those teams. At the same time, it's not only the tester who is the tester, but everybody is a tester. This is the whole team approach. So every single team member, be it from business background, from development background, from testing background, everybody does their part of testing. This is a big change, and it's still taking place. It will take more time to maybe a new generation of people to grow from universities, and maybe only then it fully happens. But it is happening all the time anyway, bit by bit. And then obviously that means that somehow the team needs to get the testing skills. So that's a link to the career paths we discussed earlier. Let's move on. So the next topic I chose as a trend is test automation. And the test automation, again, obviously something that has been happening for a long time, but there are changes which I summarize here to automate also new tests. So for many years, test automation has been about regression testing, but it's so much more. It can be so much more, and that's where test automation is going. So if you look at this picture, which is about maturity of test automation, the first step there is that you have some automation in some projects. Then you move on to next step, which is that you have all projects in reach of automation, and you might even start using keyword libraries, for example, so building a little bit of reusability and so on. But then only later, on the last step in this picture, you actually get to a centralized thinking of test automation, something which can be called a service. So if somebody needs to have tests run, they have a ease of access to tests. They can just run a script and get different tests, build new tests based on earlier tests, and get some more testing done. And that does require infrastructure in the background, like cloud, like virtualized backends, and so on. But all this is anyway happening because of other trends. So for test automation point of view, we just utilize what's out there. So more testing happening. If you take a look at this from point of view of testing errors, we can look a little bit back. So the blue ones there are the history and the different waves of testing, or eras of testing, and the green ones are the current ones that are happening at the moment. So if we take a quick look at the stage 1, which is basically and it varies where it happens and with which tools, but it's basically from 70s to 90s. Era 2 is 70s to 90s as well. Depends which one was first sometimes. Then stage 3 is really very clearly 90s. And then we go into past 20 years, first with stage 4, and then in recent years also with stage 5. They are not happening one by one. These trends are, these eras are engaged a little bit parallelly. So for example, dynamic test automation on the stage 4 is very obviously happening all the time, meaning that you are not only developing a test script that runs in exactly the same time over and over again. That would be with stage 3 there, with static test automation. In dynamic test automation, you can change the data, you can change the order of tests, use keyword-driven infrastructure, and so on, have reusability. So that's obviously happening for many companies. Still, at the same time, when I see lots of companies in my consultancy work, I still see companies which implement only static test automation purely for regression testing. This is the starting point. So it's also company by company. Some companies are further than others. And then the AI helping test automation is the latest thing that's dealing with test automation, and that will be big change for test automation. But again, it will happen gradually. So it means that test automation will be better and better bit by bit every day, every week, every month. So let's take a look at that independently. But for test automation point of view, it happens. It evolves. From point of view of where test automation sits, this slide is here because the integration is another trend that's happening. Test automation is not anymore an island, somebody there in a corner office doing the test automation script when somebody asks. No, test automation is going to be more and more integrated into the development environment, into the development work, into any testing work, obviously, into any operations and maintenance work. So integrated to everything. Very often with this example, the way it integrates with test execution management and version control. So quite typical information is the Jenkins and Git there as tools, but this is just an example of the tool structure. The point of view again is that integration is one example of test automation. Let's move on. So what that means for a tester is that all the testers need more and more test automation skills. If you look at job advertisements out there in many countries, obviously different countries are slightly different, but the most demand seems to be for many years now, and it's just increasing. The most demand is for test automation experts. So let's say it in the other way around. So probably the best combination of testing skills is one that includes test automation. So then you would have so much availability of different testing tasks. It doesn't mean that exploratory testing, manual testing, test management skills and things like that are going to go away. No, there's always going to be demand for those as well. It's just that if you also know test automation, you are much better off, because test automation is taking bigger and bigger traction in more and more companies all the time. And it will just increase, because the speed of development increases, the requirements of getting tests done so much faster and getting more and more coverage done so much faster again, they just increase. The only solution is test automation. So testers become more and more test automation people, if you simplify. Also at the same time, test automation is for software development teams. It's not only testers. It's also the developers who are going to take a bigger part of test automation, and sometimes it could be the only part actually. So this is quite typical, I think. And I'm reading a good question there. Do you think that sooner the automation process will remove a personal tester factor from a testing process? Yeah. So is that happening as well? No, I don't think so. So the person doing testing, it's not going to go away. In any software development project, as the last point says, that's the answer. there will be manual tests left. There will be a place for exploratory testing. There will be something that's just more cost effective to have a person doing that. So what I see very often is actually that because test automation has to be there for a software development project and team, it's actually not the tester who might be really good exploratory tester. It's not the tester who picks up that role. It's one of the developers, and or all the developers. So this also could work. It doesn't need to be the tester who picks up test automation. The tester might be much more useful for the team in doing the exploratory testing, which is so fast and so effective compared to building scripts for test automation. That why expose this person to test automation? Let's just use a person for exploratory testing and have developers engage in test automation. After all, test automation is also code, so developers actually learn test automation really fast. Doesn't mean that testers can't learn test automation. It just might be a longer route. Yeah. So super. Test automation, it's changing things, but not for everybody. Summarizing. Great. Let's move to the next topic, which is DevOps. So automation for testing, yes, but with DevOps, everything can be automated. That's the idea. The whole continuous delivery pipeline, and that's a big change. And this is something that testing must be part of. Can't be away. It can't move away. And then if you read the next few slides with the tester eyeglasses, so try to spot test, word test or word quality from these slides. There are many, obviously. So what happens with the DevOps, with the development and operations combining together, is that first teams are moving into Agile. Then they realize, oh, we need to develop things a lot faster. We need to test them as well, or we need automation. So test automation is added. Quality management, to think about other types of tests than just the automated tests are added maybe on top of that. And then continuous integration is taken up. So and which is enabled by test automation, because now that we integrate something, any small change in the code is integrated into the existing code daily or hourly. That's only possible because we are running the automated tests all the time. But that's still within the team. That's still within the software development team. So now if we move to continuous delivery and deployment, the next bullet there, a little bit more quality, a little bit more responsiveness to the customer, we can actually deploy fast to the production environment as well. Again, we do need to run with test automation scripts all the time. And then finally, we are in the DevOps, where the idea is that the team can deliver stuff to the customer in small bits very often, get fast feedback, learn, create better software, and that's how it goes on. And so this can't happen really without testing, without test automation. So there's different types of automation here. Obviously, the continuous integration pipeline is the automation pipeline part that is in the traditional development team. So development and testing. Lots of automated steps there, but also manual steps. And designing any of the scripts is also testing. So the automated testing scripts is for example, developed in time to run it. And taking a look at the next slide, when you continue with the test with automation from point of view, then the software is integrated and tested. You can actually deliver it automatically to many testing environments, which can then run different types of acceptance tests. Now this is a potential place again for some manual testing. So not all tests can be automated, or it's maybe not cost effective. So this is again a natural place for some manual tasks. But obviously the idea of DevOps is that you try to automate everything you can. So bit by bit, those manual tests become automated as well. And then you push into production and you measure into production, and all this is automatic. This is the beautiful, nice vision of DevOps. We practice practical things is that it takes many, many years to build any of this. If you look at the world of DevOps, it's not happening overnight. It's not happening in a year. It takes a few years. If you look at different companies, some companies started this 10 years ago, some are starting it this year, and it's picking up more and more momentum all the time. So in practice, this will be a big continuous change in, again, next 5 and 10 years. After that, let's see what happens, but it's quite likely that teams that are today agile or not even agile are in some years going to be DevOps teams. So they are also in charge of production, and they have a very heavily automated pipeline available for them to practice, try things in small bits and push them into production. Obviously, a little bit different things for different business domains, but still the idea of delivering fast fits to every business domain. Great. So what does this all this DevOps things mean for tester is that tester, in the same way as tester is going to be more part of Agile team, tester is also going to be more part of the DevOps team. And a DevOps team compared to Agile team also has competencies about understanding the customer, running the software in production, maintaining, responding to customer incidents and things like that. Bit to support the rest of the company, but still that's the main idea. So tester is again here in a central role. Testers, everybody is a tester in DevOps team as well. It's a form of Agile team. Thinking about test automation skills, even there's more and more need of that. So the test automation trend is also strengthening here. DevOps can't happen without Agile, and it can't happen without test automation. So where testing is going, yeah, we need more test automation skills. And what does happen also is that test automation is less and less separate. It's just automation needed for DevOps. So somebody might be very good in provisioning automation and also in test automation. Somebody might be really good in the continuous integration software and test automation software, and so on. So it's a number of tools. Still, I would emphasize, still in DevOps, which I also said in the previous slides, still there will be place for manual steps. There will be those exploratory tests that are still more cost effective. There will be the critical thinking that you need to do also to build and create these automated tests and create these automated pipelines. And there's also the trial and error thinking that you need to have to try things out with the customer. So this is for the whole team as well. So some people might see DevOps as a threat to testing because so many things are automated. I would see it in the other way around. DevOps must have the testing state of mind. All the people in DevOps teams must have a testing state of mind, and test automation is as a particular technical skill is very much needed there. Okay, let's move to the next and the last part of my presentation, which is the artificial intelligence, AI. And this one I summarized as tester becomes a teacher, which is also true for anything in AI. So what AI, artificial intelligence, is, it has many definitions. Obviously, very often it is tied to machine learning, and it is indeed powered by machine learning. And what machine learning really is a different way of understanding how software works or how software is used as well. So in a traditional way, we would build code, we would build a system, But when we have machine learning approach, we just think about examples of how things work. You know, if I do this, then this happens. If I do something else, this happens. This is actually a black box way of thinking about the world, right? So quite typical for a tester, because testers do think like that. You know, I have requirements. This is what I get, and then if I do this, the software should do this. So it's quite natural to think in this way. So machine learning, it takes inputs and basically you teach a computer to do something by showing examples, and then after that the machine learning algorithms start inventing new ways of using the software. And here, if you take this into test automation or testing, they can find new ways of running test automation, new combinations, totally new test automation scripts, things like that. This is something quite new, but it is what will happen next. If you look at the different reports of what people say, what the research says, where artificial intelligence, AI is going, it seems to be going into areas which are difficult to automate. So you would automate the easy things by a simple script. So remember with DevOps automation and with test automation in the earlier steps. So if you think about what AI can then do is it can take the difficult parts. So this could mean also some of your exploratory testing. Could mean so difficult to automate parts, difficult to automate tests. Most likely AI will do this. It will be there to be the help for the tester to test more, to automate more, even faster. So how I see this is that it does help tester to achieve more. It doesn't again replace the tester, but it helps tester again. This picture here says and shows that the AI robot or AI system, it doesn't do everything on its own. It's quite typical that AI has some problems in particular areas. So what the tester then can do, it can use the AI, the robot, to do those tests, which can be done by AI very easily. Those are the tests where the robot is confident and doesn't fail. But then there are some tests anyway, which robot tries to solve, tries to run, tries to decide if that's wrong or right, if there's a defect or not, but it's not sure. So this would be the tests there. The tester needs to analyze the results of the AI running tests. And then the last part, there will be some small part, which is of course the danger in AI. There's this part where the robot or the AI it thinks it has the correct answer, thinks it works nicely, but it doesn't. There's actually a problem there. So it doesn't call for help for the tester. It thinks it's right. So the tester, let's say the quality assurance of AI systems, need to take this part into account. So we as testers must then spot these particular usages of AI. Their AI thinks it's right, but it's not. Yeah. So we do need to have human beings in the equation. So AI applied to test automation, we do need to have testers in the equation. So AI is not going to take our place as testers or as test automation experts or whatever. It is going to be another help for us, a help which is even bigger help than test automation or any of the other forms of automation, but still a help. There's still a place for human beings, for testers there. So to summarize the tester role for AI, some of the testing, lots of the testing, and this will move from some to lots in next years, can be done by artificial intelligence. AI can help there. So what it can do to test automation is it can make test automation even faster than it is today. It can reach tests that that previously were not suitable for test automation. So you can run more. And basically, I would like to see AI as the ultimate tool and partner for the tester. So that's how it is. From a learning point of view, from skills point of view, testers need to learn not only test automation, but also artificial intelligence. So these are the two things I would bank on in learning about something related to testing. Learn test automation, learn artificial intelligence. There will be applications and usage for those skills. Without forgetting that the other testing skills are not going away, but these are increasing. So think about it in a positive way. These are the increasing parts of testing skills, need of those skills. Okay, so I'm at my last slide. Are there any questions?
Kari, I will switch again. First of all, thank you very much. It was very interesting. I really liked the wording about the testing, that tester is a teacher. I would say that it really highlights the role of tester on AI direction. There are several questions. One is even in Georgia, so I will try to translate it.
Okay.
Yeah, first one is in English. It's like, what would be your recommendation for newcomers in QA field who want to choose correct path in QA for future development of their skills?
Okay. Correct path. Well, I think this relates to the test automation. So if you are a newcomer in QA, and if you still have a technical capability of coding, or you think you could also code, I would also learn coding and testing side by side. So with the coding skills, you can then do test automation. So with that basic knowledge, it will be a good combination. So that's where I would start. So learn Python, for example, scripting language, which can be used for both coding and testing. Yeah.
Great. Thank you. And another one in Georgia, I will try to translate.
Sure.
It's telling that for a while, for the projects who are held with Agile methodology,
yeah.
Once was heard the phrase that everyone should try to be an analyst. Then there was a said that everyone should be a leader and to try to be a scrum master or project manager. And now he heard that everyone should be a tester. And there is a question that why not to try to be a programmer also?
Yeah.
And
Good point. Good point. And I think all of those things are true. So this is the nature of Agile and the nature of DevOps. So you should learn everything, at least a little bit of everything. But nobody can learn everything in depth. So I think I would bring up the concept of T-shaped skills here. So what's something used in DevOps? So everybody should know a little bit about everything. This is the horizontal bar of T, letter T, and then you have a vertical bar, and that means that you choose some specialization where you become really, really good. And it could be exploratory testing, it could be Agile especially, so it could be a Scrum Master, it could be programming, and it could be business. So you could become a product owner for a team. So any of this. So everybody has a different strength, and you need to learn your own strength and then choose that path. And if at some point it looks like it's too difficult for you, choose another path. You can also change careers and change emphasis of your careers. And I would say it's even easier these days to change the emphasis because, as said, everybody should learn a little bit about everything. So you have a basis already to change your emphasis, let's say from developer to tester or to Scrum Master. I've seen really many testers become Scrum Masters because they realize, oh, it's very interesting, and they are close to understanding that already. So, for example, they do that. They never abandon testing totally, but they also pick up something else.
Thank you very much. And one more question. First of all, thank for you for sharing a lot of experience with us. I have a question about AI in testing. In the near future, what will be the approximate percentage in test automation for programmers and for AI? And should developers consider switching AI now?
Right. I think everybody should at the moment take a look at AI if there's already algorithms that could help. And these AI libraries are becoming more and more common. So I think it's for some companies, for some business domains, the particular libraries might be available already. So maybe they take a look at those libraries this year and already engage. Maybe for another companies, they need to take another look in a year or two and see if available libraries are out there. So AI is coming in that way bit by bit. You need to take a look at it and follow how it's advancing. And at some point you realize now it's time for me to take the AI into my development or into my testing. So bit by bit. So there's no actual percentage in that way. So if you understand the question correctly, so how much of all test automation is done with the help of AI? I think at the moment it's only a few percentages, but it's very obvious that it will be more and more next year. So the growth will be faster than we think. That's my estimate. So yeah. So keep trying, keep following AI. That's my advice. Yeah.
Thank you very much.